Okay, so we are live with something that we we haven't done in 3 years, 2 years. Yaku, when was the last time we did a podcast?
It all just molds together for me, really. Probably, I want to say before anything significant happened.
Whoa! Things happened. Those were our beginnings. That's where we started.
Can you really be sure that anything happens?
I mean, didn't we win VTL? Oh wait, was that before we even won VTL?
That was before we. Yeah, exactly.
You're right. Nothing important happened back then. That's fine. But this is not a PondCast. That's what this is.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Well, it's under the PondCast brand.
It is. But recently, I think a day ago, maybe 2 days ago, depending on when this gets published, we released a preview for the Latin American DreamHack qualifiers.
That was today.
When we're recording this, it was today. Yes. That is accurate.
Yeah. Wait, we're not live?
We are not live. Wait, did you click the live button?
I thought you were going to click the live button. I thought the purpose was you wanted me to have a backup here.
God damn it. No one's live. But yeah, like we did a preview. We talked about some of the players going into it, and I felt like a lot of people found it helpful. So I thought, hey, we also we're all about the C scene. We pretty much cover everything C related in 2020, really. Now that I think about it, like literally
all of it.
Yeah.
From the first dare to the latest qualifier.
Yep, and everything in between. So I felt like it would be good to give our thoughts and go into some of the players here going into DreamHack Summer.
Yes. At least the ANZ champ. Wait, it's ANZ. No, it's not ANZ. Yeah, it's ANZChamps, isn't it? It's not the ANZChamp qualifier.
Yeah. It's ANZChamp, and then players from ANZChamp qualify for the DreamHack main event.
That's not confusing.
Yeah, it's a little bit odd. I mean, I guess we can talk about that to begin with. The ANZ qualifier is completely different to all the others because there's like 2 qualifications in a way.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of that has to do with the fact that our qualifiers are handled by ESL Australia, which declared its separateness from the rest of ESL a while ago.
We declared our independence and we do things our own way. So it also has to do with the fact that ESL Australia partnered with ANZChamps, which is like a separate kind of organization in a way, or tournament series. So they partnered, and this is like their section of it. You qualify for ANZChamps, which is like its own event, and then that goes into DreamHack Summer, which is its own event.
Right, I see what this is, because ANZChamps is still under ESL Australia, but yeah, I think ANZChamp is kind of like a what would it be called? Kind of like a DreamHack-ish, or like an IEM kind of thing, where there are a bunch of different games.
Yeah.
Or a bunch of different esports that all compete at the same time.
Yeah. It's kind of like an event within an event, and it's also, I mean, because of it, it also like boosts prize pool as well. Like, like extra money gets allocated depending on how you place in ANZChamps and before you get into the main event, which also allocates money as well and stuff like that. So yeah,
nodding along here.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, from what I can see, the ANZChamps for StarCraft 2 happens at the same time as the Warcraft 3 Reforged Open qualifiers, they call it, and I believe CSGO is something, they're doing something at around that time as well. So yeah, it's an event that they decide to incorporate the StarCraft side of it.
Yeah, there's a lot there's a lot that's happening.
Yeah.
but at the same time, it's really cool, and we'll see how it does. Like from what I hear, the Warcraft 3 esport in Australia has actually been doing relatively well. It's been getting a lot of participation, getting a lot of viewership as well. I'm pretty sure GTR is mainly the one behind that, which is also cool. Like he's another familiar face. I don't know if you remember, but he also casted Pro League for a little bit. I think he also casted SSL, maybe a little bit of GSL, but he was in Korea for quite some time, and yeah, he did cast a little bit when he was there. Now, like speaking a little bit about the qualifiers, we were able to cast all of them, and
that we were.
Yeah.
How about that, Kyobex? Haha!
Shout out to Kyobex, by the way. It was great to have a Brazilian caster, the only other language streamer for those qualifiers. It was great to see him, be a part of it. It's something that everyone was like, "Well, what? We got a Brazilian caster?" It was great. But yeah, we got into casting the first qualifier. Of course, this was like our priority going into the DreamHack qualifiers in general. Like this is something that we wanted to cover since we've been basically watching these players all year and the end of 2019 as well. As CranKy Ducklings, we did start branching into the pro scene, and yeah, it was pretty hype. I got Yoda Slim to cast with me. Yoda Slim, he usually casts our NA events, and it was like his introduction into the C scene.
That was what I was waiting for a long time. Also, I was thinking, I wonder how he'd react to Mio Micah or something like that.
I know. I was so disappointed because we actually didn't get to cover Mio Micah. But we got the next best thing. And as soon as I saw the brackets, as soon as I saw the signups, I looked at it and I was like, hey, we need to go for Ender.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. My boy.
Yeah. Ender, day one, the qualifier number one, Ender was the big name there because for those of you who don't know, he has been MIA for almost the entirety of 2020. It was really surprising because towards the end of 2019, like we all know, he's the SEA Games champion, right? Like it was.
Do we all know that?
We should all know that. If you don't, he has a gold medal. He won SEA Games. It was like a gold medal event. He went up against Blisk. He won up against all the SEA players, except Demi. I don't think India was involved.
No, because India is still South Asia instead of Southeast Asia.
Yeah,
because SEA Games is an actual what's it called, physical sport event. Last year was just the first time they started incorporating esports into it.
Yeah, which was like really exciting for the scene. And of course, like Malaysia went in, like Ranger, Blisk was there, Mio Micah, and Ender, he surprised at least me anyway. Like looking at the lineup, I was like, yo, Mio Micah's got this, right? Who else, right? Like Mio Micah's one of the best in the region. And Ender surprised everyone. He won a gold medal, and then
I wasn't surprised. That's all I really have there. No, because here's the thing about looking at it. Ender, I think, is kind of that sleeping giant in a sense. He, again, because of his internet troubles, he doesn't really, he's not very involved with the sort of online event region, right? So people don't really get to see him play, but there's a reason Freedom recruited him. One of the earliest people that KJ, or was he one of the earliest people? Well, regardless, one of the people that KJ Freedom recruited for Psystorm.
Yeah.
And on top, plus he also had the home team advantage. So
yeah, definitely. It was really. I mean, it was huge for Manila in the Philippines to like have a Filipino champion. Especially for their first SEA Games event. And after that, yeah, he kind of went MIA. He wasn't a part of the scene. He did play in some tournaments. I don't know if you're familiar with the Filipino quarantine events that happened. And Ender did play in them. I think in total there were 2 this year. and it was restricted to only people from the Philippines. So he did play in that, but that was kind of it. And I recall because he was streaming, and we raided him a couple of times after some of our tournaments, and I was like, "Hey Ender, like when are you gonna play in like GPO and stuff like that?" And he was like, "Oh, like I'm not ready yet. Like I'm like I'm laddering, I'm practicing, and I'm getting ready to start playing in events. And my main focus is like to get ready for DreamHack, right? Like that's like that was his goal." And then coming into this, you know, we went in, we casted him, and it was amazing to see him play. He isn't quite Miyamaika, but he's like Miyamaika-esque.
I think that's how ANZ described him as well. No, actually, Bwisk described Miyamaika as Ender on crack. I remember that.
Yeah, pretty much. And oh my god, watching him play, it was such a shame because, well, I say such a shame, it was actually really exciting to see like Ender versus Demi, right? And we're pretty familiar with how Demi plays and how like he's good in ZVZ, but he's against someone like Miyamaika, he can struggle. And you know, we saw him play against Ender, and it was pretty similar where we would get into situations in game where Ender would like throw down a Spire, Demi scouted the Spire, and Ender wouldn't go mutas. You know, like stuff like that. Like he kind of like played into, you know, just being unorthodox and being aware of what his opponent thinks he's doing and doing something else. And yeah, it was crazy to see him go as far as he did. Of course, if you look at the bracket, he did face Probe as well, and Probe ended up taking him down, but like, you know, Ender made a series out of it regardless. And
exactly, taking it to the ace match.
Yeah.
Against the top OCE player.
Exactly, yeah. And
tells you something.
It definitely does. It goes to show how good his like Ender is, and in the end he was able to qualify in day one.
That he did, amongst others.
Yeah. Day one was, I mean, you know, a lot of the games were pretty, like the players that qualified, like you would for the most part expect. Like Ender was the big one that everyone wanted to see what kind of shape he was in. And of the others, like of course Demi, it's rough. He went down to Ender and then he faced Miyamaika.
And now he's about to face him again.
Yeah, we can go into that later, but there's a story to be told there. When like it's such a shame. Demi, he's good at ZVZ. He's not that good against.
He's not good against CVM.
Yeah, ZV like C, you know, like. But yeah. So of course the crazy Zergs came out, Miyamaika and Ender, and the top Australians came out in Probe and Seether. So yeah. It was. I think what's important as well is that even though Probe and Seether came out of the winner bracket, like, they ended up going all the way to the ace match against their opponents.
Yeah, kind of surprisingly there.
Yeah, especially I would say Seether, because we've seen him time and time again in that TVZ.
Take out Miyamaika.
Yeah, even in finals, I think when they faced in the ESL Dare finals, it was like a 3-0. Like Seether, he's dominant in that matchup. Like he's a scary opponent.
Specifically against Miyamaika.
Yeah.
I guess the other big shocks from that day was, to me at least, Hut losing in the end to Miyamaika there. But also, and I think you might disagree on me on this one, like, Seether taking out Azure 2-0.
Yeah, I would, I don't know if I would disagree. I would kind of say that that's kind of expected, but what wasn't expected and what kind of contradicts that is the fact that Azure 2-0'd Hut in the lower bracket. So it does go to show, and that was surprising to me because I kind of rate Azure lower than Seether and Hut in general, but in a TVT matchup, like we were lucky enough to cast that, and Azure was looking really in form.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I didn't actually watch those qualifier games, but for the more recent GPOs and ESL Dare Cups, to me it really seemed like Azure was somebody who it felt like Azure was aware of the meta, if that's how you want to put it. I feel like Hut and Seether play TBT more like a sort of fundamental sort of standard kind of way, right? Where they go for their double Reaper, how many Hellions they want to go for, and then they go for a Scout, and then whatever they continue along. Azure, let me put it this way: Azure is kind of like TY, and Hut and Seether are like Cure. They're very good, but when it comes to the actual mirror matchup, one of them is has more of an understanding.
Yeah,
I would say, and how to exploit how the other player plays.
Yeah, and I would definitely say that about Hut versus Azure. Like watching that series, like Azure was looking so good, which is also why it's a shame. Like I would have loved to have seen Seether versus Azure, and looked at how Seether played that TVT, and if Azure, like learned anything from that, or like was it like a clash of styles? Especially since I know that Seether and Hut do practice a lot together. Like they are teammates. They play a lot of Tarkov together. I imagine their styles would be fairly similar. I'm not too sure.
Well, if they're playing Tarkov, then I imagine their style would be man with gun versus man with gun.
It's accurate. It's very accurate.
But it's always small groups of them, or just 1v1.
Uh-huh.
One Marine versus one Marine. Let's go.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing about this is, like, we were talking about the players that qualified, the players that made deep runs, but, we had a couple of returning players, like Blisk. Blisk was a big shocker to me, like, as in, he did tweet that he was returning, but, like, how well he played is what was shocking.
It was a shock to me as well, because I remember a couple of days beforehand, at ESL Dare Cup, you asked me, what has Blisk been doing? Well, actually, you said, what has Blisk been doing? And I was like, Blisk? I don't know.
Uh-huh.
So, like, he's been living off the grid for a while, man. He's, like, camping in the woods or something.
Yeah, I mean, he admitted that himself. Like, he was saying that he didn't play previously. He left his team as well, Resurgence, like, he's teamless. So... Yeah, he was kind of a big question mark coming into this, and he was able to perform pretty well.
Yeah, I believe he has a full-time job now, question mark?
Yeah, I imagine so.
Something along those lines.
Yeah. So day one was, a lot of the like, I guess a lot of the players that made it through you would expect to make through, but again, it was really surprising to see. We were talking about this heading into it, how competitive everyone was, and that's kind of what made all the qualifiers so much more exciting to see. Like, maybe a couple of upsets, or maybe like people who've been practicing for so long, finally to see that kind of come to fruition, and see these players break out. And part of that is like Azure, taking out someone like Hut, or Ender coming out strong. Miyamika, like, unfortunately, he's also been really down on himself, not happy with his results. But I think that was off of, like, he had some really rough losses in ESL Open Cup Dare as well as in GPO. And yeah, like, it was rough to see, but it's at the same time now, like, that maybe he's gotten past that. It's really cool to see him come back into form and, not give up on himself.
Yeah.
So after qualifier number 1, we headed into our usual tournament in GPO.
We did go into GPO. Just what time did it end? I believe GPO started just 3 hours after the qualifiers ended.
I think it was just less than 3 hours. It was like 2 hours and something. Like, it was, yeah.
But despite that, about half of the GPO bracket, I mean, we did have a double elimination bracket for the first time in a while, but I believe you had 11 players at the end there, and the interesting part was about half of them were made up of players who played in the qualifiers.
Yeah, like, going into this GPO, like, I didn't hold it against players for not playing, because then it would be like an entire...
I did.
It would be an entire day of playing, on top of also having to wake up early to play the next day, like.
But there are other qualifiers. There's only one GPO. That's how I put it.
This is accurate. But yeah, like, shout out to the players who actually, competed in this, who also competed in the qualifiers earlier on, like Justice Simon, Pez, Demi, and Upley, Starduck as well, actually. And Yeah, it was.
Oh, yeah, he did, didn't he?
Yeah. I started playing all of them. It was great to see. I think in most of them he ended up in a PvP, uh, which is what you want to see.
Exactly. But yeah, this GPO, I guess it was a little bit of a sleepy cast. I know Quirky came out of casting
Yeah,
the qualifiers as well as kind of the B stream for CranKy, just so we could spread to as many series as we possibly could.
Yeah, I warned him about that. I was like, "Are you sure you want to do this? You have GPO later." He's like, "Yo, I wanna do this." And I'm like, "Okay, all right, go ahead."
Esports. It's what we do like to see. And speaking of what we like to see, this is also another bit of a kind of a surprising result here.
This, I feel like what happened here was what we've been waiting for.
A long time coming, definitely. Pez, after how many second places throughout 2020, he finally defeated his demon in Go-Go Joey, not once, but twice.
Yeah. And bearing in mind, this is off of the back of Pez playing in a qualifier for like 6 hours as well. Like, this is fatigued Pez.
He was warmed up.
He was warmed up.
Now, you say he's fatigued. Could just be a case of being warmed up.
It could be a bit of both.
About it that way.
Could be a bit of both.
But yeah, other than Pez, we did have, of course, the other surprising result to me was in the lower bracket, Justice Simon taking out Demi 1-0, and I guess that segues us into qualifier number 2, unless we have anything else to add about this GPO.
Oh, yeah, like, just talking about Pez, to be honest, you were mentioning how he himself, kind of like Miyamika, he was very down on himself, to the point where he even named himself second place in game. That was for quite some time. Like, he was like, he tweeted, you know, like, like, when am I gonna finally get a win? Am I just gonna be the Kong of the region, right?
It'll be like, yo, Sue, let's make a team. Or no, like, Sue, tell me how you cope.
Yeah, exactly. And then he just goes into a depression and just drinks nothing but alcohol and rip.
Yeah. And then he goes to, whatchamacallit, wait. I need to recollect all of my StarCraft 2 history knowledge here. So after 2014 for Sue it was. Wins a minor thingy. Or I guess not a minor. And then falls back to the cycle, but then falls into obscurity, but then surprises everyone.
Yep. Wins the Casper Cup.
I guess GPO number 33 was this Casper Cup.
Yeah, like, this is something that we've been waiting for a long time. Like, Pez, we keep talking about it, like, he has some of the best PvZ in the region. I would say the best PvZ in the region, and part of that is because he plays in so many of these tournaments, so many of these online tournaments. He keeps playing against Demi, Miyamika, Go-Go Joey, but for the longest time, Go-Go Joey, even though Pez has been able to take series, in the end, Go-Go Joey does kind of come out on top, or Miyamika in these tournaments.
Exactly. One of my favorite GPOs that we've casted this year, like, was, or when it comes to the finals, was for the second week in a row, we had Go-Go Joey versus Pez as our finals. Pez brought it to the ace match in about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
It looked like Pez was gonna win his first GPO championship. Go-Go Joey out of nowhere reverse sweeps it, makes that series last about, I want to say, 15 minutes longer than it should have.
Yeah, I remember that. He was up to her. Pez, oh my god. That was such a shame. I thought we were finally going to get it as well, and Go-Go Joey brought it back, being incredibly
impressed, I was like, holy heck, Go-Go Joey. He's still alive and he should be dead.
He just brought it back, and I remember he was very aggressive in those series as well afterwards, and yeah, that's kind of been the tale of GPO. We've had a lot of Zerg champions, but Pez,
for the longest
like,
time, we only had a Zerg champion. Like,
this is very accurate.
In fact, the only champion.
But Pez, he he finally brought it back, and he didn't just beat Gogojoy once, he beat him twice, and just showing dominance like over Gogojoy today, like or that day. It was really, really cool to see that, like, that practice, that year-long practice finally pay off, where he finally wins something. And after this happens, I'm like, yo, he's gonna qualify easy. He's gonna make it through. He's not just gonna make it through, like he's just gonna do so well this year.
Yeah, I mean, he's won his Kespa Cup. Now I guess it's when does he win his Katowice?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
if we're gonna continue this metaphor.
Like, we've just been following him all year long, and we've been seeing him grow slowly over time, getting better and better, taking more and more series. We finally gotten to this point, and I mean, at least in this matchup, like, he's looking really solid. We'll see how he does in his other matchups. I think he also tweeted a couple of days ago his Aligulac rating, and in competitive matches in Legacy of the Void, he's played like over double PVZs compared to his other matchups. It's like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Welcome to C, more like ZVZ, am I right?
And I know you kind of glossed over it, but a big, I would say, upset is that, to be fair, it was a best of one, but Justice Simon took out Demi.
Yeah, 1-0, which a lot of people, myself and Quirky, we were just thinking, it's a best of one. What could Justice Simon have possibly done? They're like, there are multiple different things or different ways for him to win the game.
Yeah, going into qualifier number 2, this time I casted it with Quirky, and the big name in qualifier number 2 that we were following was NXZ.
Mate, Ryan.
Yes.
Ryan.
Yes. I guess I didn't get to mention it, but we did see him play in qualifier number 1, and he performed relatively well. Like, he was able to take out or like make some good series against some good players. So we wanted to see where he would go. Especially because he's one of these returning players like Hut, and we were talking about how different his run has been. Like, Hut, as soon as he came back, like a couple of weeks later, he played an ESL Dare Cup and he won. Right? Like, that was insane to see.
Rocking that royal road.
Yeah, he didn't just win.
He has ever known.
Yeah, he took out Demi, he took out Probe, he took out like all the heavy hitters to win that tournament. I think he took out Miyamika as well.
I know for a fact he didn't take out Seether. That is as much as I remember.
That is accurate. Maybe that's the matchup where he struggles in, right? TVT. We saw him struggle against Azure as well, But yeah, as opposed to that, NXZ, he also signed up for ESL Dare Cup, I believe the very first one, and I think he got knocked out in the first round. So he's been struggling a lot more. He didn't get to walk that royal road just like Hut, but despite that, he has been grinding. He has been streaming a lot. So we wanted to follow him. We wanted to cover his story and see how far he could go and how much that training has paid off. And he had an insanely deep run. We were so excited when he took out Hut in qualifier number 2. That was crazy. And after he took out Hut, I thought it was a done deal. I'm like, yo, he's gonna get through this. He's gonna qualify.
Fool.
The insane happened, mate.
Justice Simon.
So Justice Simon, he took out Azure, and we've seen that before. Like, it's happened before in GPO. Like okay, that's fine. That's fine. He makes it to the qualifying round. But NXZ, after taking out Hut, there's a lot of hype surrounding him, and at this point, I'm like, yo, NXZ, he's got to have this in the bag. He faces Justice Simon, and Justice Simon 2-0s NXZ.
Him. Yes. Don't even try.
Yeah, bearing in mind, it's not on, if you're just looking at Wikipedia, you won't see it. We started the night off. We had to, and we were kind of cut off short. So Pez had just won GPO, and NXZ first went up against Psycho, right? We wanted to cast that, and because it led into NXZ versus Pez, and NXZ beat Pez, and we were like, "What is happening? Pez just won GPO, and NXZ already took him out. And if NXZ can take out Pez, he can take out Justice Simon." Nope.
Apparently, the best PvZ player in Australia can't match up against the Simon of Justice himself.
Yeah. Justice was too strong. Like, Vietnam came out strong.
Strong.
It was.
Justice always wins in the end.
Oh my god.
You could say.
That was a really surprising result, and I'm sure Justice Simon was like over the moon after that. Like, he
had to be.
Yeah, he qualified. Of course,
I was gonna say, this may be one of his first, I believe this may be his first big sort of DreamHack kind of thing, even though it is just ANZ or ANZChamps instead of the main event. Justice Simon is a pretty fresh player. I believe he started playing in late 2018-ish? Question mark?
Yeah.
Something along those lines.
He's very new, like, relative to everyone else. And unfortunately, what this means is he can't play Now Die anymore.
It does, doesn't it?
That was his tournament, and because of this, congratulations, Justice Simon, but condolences, you can no longer play in Now Die. Yeah, so Justice Simon, he made his way through. Demi, of course, just blazed his way through. Like, there was kind of the upper bracket wasn't as competitive. Like, Hut, Pez, NXZ, Azure, Justice Simon, they were all in that lower half. They completely missed Demi. So Demi, he just went on through. He was like, I got this easy. And after that, the big thing was, all right, we got to follow Pez, and he worked his way hard through that lower bracket. He's like, yo, I just won GPO. I'm not going out like this. I'm not going out in the first round. And he got his revenge against NXZ.
Yeah, 2-0.
Series number 1 was just a warm-up. It was just a warm-up.
Truly.
But I wouldn't just say that. NXZ has a very particular style. Very surprising style. He we keep talking about it whenever we see it pop up, because it's very rare when a Zerg player goes Swarmhost Nidus against a Protoss. Like, it's
rare. It was rare back then, you mean, or rare nowadays, you mean?
Rare nowadays, because it used to be a lot more common in the meta. Swarmhost Nidus, and we've been through a couple of patches. The Nidus got nerfed. It hasn't been anywhere near as prominent. So NXZ, he's pretty fond of it, and he did it against Pez, and it worked in the first series. In the second series, he tried it again, but Pez was ready for it. He was like, I know what you're doing, and yeah, he was a lot more prepared, and we can see that in the results.
That we could.
And yeah, with that, Pez, he won GPO. He qualified through the qualifiers as well the next day. Hut, of course, made it through as well. And just like day number 1, in day number 2, 50-50, like 2 Aussies, 2 C players.
Imagine that.
Balance.
Thanks, David.
Yeah. And then we went into day number 3, which you finally came in. You finally casted. I was there for the beginning, and I remember that you guys were focusing more on some of these other players that a lot of people aren't too familiar with, like Psycho or like Quantel, right?
We did do that, definitely, but I think the main narrative there would be continuing on from day number 2, Ranger, who had a really good showing in day number 2, took out the likes of Chappie, ended up losing to Demi and Hut in the end there, but it did still put up quite a bit of resistance there. In fact, he was actually saying to us before we start the qualifiers of day number 3, his loss against Hut in particular haunted him so much that he didn't go to bed. He'd have been awake for about 48 hours at that point.
I now just remember it. In qualifier number 2, Ranger versus Hut was the last qualifying match. And they were in the ace match, so it couldn't get casted. Because like that was the last game, and they were just playing it out in isolation. And yeah, I would say it surprisingly went to the ace match. Like Ranger taking it to Hut, going all the way and just not quite doing it in the end.
Yeah. It's gotta hurt a little bit, but he did get his day the next day, qualifying with not you, Bixby, being one of the qualifying in the upper bracket. Funnily enough, there was also a point where I think Quirky and I thought once he went up against NXZ, we thought, oh, this might just be done. Ranger might be going down to the lower bracket, but took it to the ace match and clutched it out towards the end.
Yeah. Again, Ranger takes out another strong opponent in NXZ, so it's really cool to see his training pay off. I say training, of course. He did go to Korea last year to practice in the team house with No Regret and Scarlet. And yeah, back then that was in preparation for the SEA Games, but like sometimes it takes a while for that to kick in, or you can gain some habits, being in that team house, in that practice environment, and then you can kind of retain that. And yeah, Ranger, he's coming into form.
Yeah, it's one of those things, right, where you don't really notice it, but when you're actually practicing physically with other people around there, you start to pick up a couple more things of what they do.
Yeah.
And also on top of that, it's much easier for somebody to be like, yo, why are you doing this? You can be doing something like this or that. As opposed to be like, yo, can you look through this replay for me? I'm like, alright.
Yeah, and
see what we can get.
And I guess talking about Ranger a little bit, something that is really cool is that his team is very supportive of him. His team is a Malaysian team, Made Hexa, and they have their own. I believe they opened up their own gaming studio. I think like esports studio. It is focused on mobile gaming, but they are investing in esports. And if I recall, after the SEA Games, after the performance, because I think Ranger came 3rd, or
he came 4th, I believe.
4th, yeah. I think Bliss came 3rd.
I remember. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay.
I remember that. I remember when we were just contrasting the reaction of Singapore and Malaysia, where in Singapore our reaction was like, "Oh, he came in 2nd. Why didn't he win? Why didn't he win?" And it's like, whatever. But then when Ranger came in 4th at the SEA Games, they were like, yo, let's build a team house or studio. Something like that.
It was I think it was the Malaysian government announced that they would invest in infrastructure for esports and to get work on an organization or something to standardize it or something along those lines. But it was this big thing where Malaysia, because of their performance in SEA Games, they were investing in esports, and Ranger and his team were really excited about that. And then meanwhile you have Singapore and even Vietnam, Mio Micah, he made a deeper run than Blisk, or if I'm not wrong.
Mio Micah came in 3rd, lost to Blisk in the lower bracket finals.
Yeah, and you also compare that to Malaysia, where Vietnam, they said nothing. They're like, good job, moving on.
Here in Singapore, it was just like, yo, he said that he was gonna give up his German citizenship for us, and then what did that bring us, huh?
It's such a shame.
He did get that one video by some, what's it called, The People. I don't even remember what they're called, some YouTubers who were like, yo, let's see if the 3 of us can beat him in a 3v1.
Yeah, I did see that he does have a YouTube channel, and he is he does have his own stuff going on there, or used to. I don't know if he still does. But yeah, Ranger, his team is supportive. It seems like his country is more supportive as well. So maybe, he's more motivated because of that. I did hear that he actually quit his job
Oh,
To this was during SEA Games. He quit his job.
that's a major step.
Yeah, so he could focus on practicing. Claire was telling me that, and I was like, oh damn, like he's like really focusing on it, and we can see it pay off here. Like he ended up qualifying, and I as well. Like I feel like this is a huge step for him in his career.
Yeah, could definitely be huge.
But yeah, Ranger, he was able to make it out. Azure was able to make it out as well. I think someone who has been a little bit overshadowed, and it's a bit of a shame, is Thuc Lao. He got taken out by Azure, and Thuc Lao has been performing really well. He's more of an old school Vietnamese player. We know him as Protoss Nam, one and the same.
Yeah.
Just alternate IDs, and I believe Thuc Lao has been winning a couple of outdies over Justice Simon. So that's kind of why I think it's a bit of a shame, where I feel like they're both around the same tier, around the same skill level, but Justice Simon, like he was able to edge it out, and a lot of that is because
really
Thuc Lao.
That day.
Yeah, and Thuc Lao, I think he only played in qualifier number 3. Like, I think because number 3 had, like, the highest chance to make it through, he only went for that one. Whereas Justice Simon, like, he was persistent. He played in the first and the second.
He would have played in the third as well, but he wasn't allowed.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I mean, we've been going with this narrative for a while, right? Where Justice Simon is probably one of the best players in Vietnam. In fact, in some areas, arguably even probably the most consistent. He's the most fastly improving, but he's always overshadowed by Mio Micah. I can't even imagine what that's like for Thuc Lao.
Exactly.
No, about the same as Justice Simon, but still overshadowed by him, Mio Micah, and to me anyway, Upley. I see Upley's name a lot more than I see of Thuc Lao.
Upley is kind of like Nux, where like they play in everything. Like, you know, they just really grind it out. And Thuc Lao is a little bit more selective with what he plays in. And yeah, because of that, we do see Upley a lot more. And again, like it goes to show, like I love what Mike has done with his scene with Vietnam. Like he really like took a lot of these players under his wing and propped them up. And a lot of that started with VTL as well, like Vietnam Team League. To really like give an opportunity for these guys to showcase themselves. Like Upley, Thuc Lao, we always talk about Alienware, right? Gaming Dell.
Alienware.
Was the RPG AAT, like there's Hoi Solo, like there's a lot of Vietnamese, like
Hoi Solo.
How can we forget? But there's a lot of Vietnamese players, and a lot of them are really good, and yeah, it's cool to see them here performing well, and you know, Thuc Lao taking a game off of Azure, right? Like maybe could have been a series. Unfortunately, we didn't cast it, but you know, like these guys, they're doing well.
Yeah, no disagreements with you there. And then, of course, our sort of fairy tale / Cinderella story, if you will.
Yeah.
We did manage to fill it out, or it did come to an ending towards the end there. I guess did we talk about Ranger qualifying? I feel like we did. We talked about Ranger, but did we talk about him qualifying? He qualified, beat Run Amok, beat ANZ. And immediately afterwards, I messaged him, "Hey, congrats, man." He was like, "Thanks, I'm gonna go pass out for the next week or so, as I've been awake for way too long."
Yeah, and
then Bliss ended up qualifying, and ANZ did as well. So
yeah, Blisk, he was the big surprise, right? Like him coming out again, not really playing for too long at all, maybe less than a week.
I like to imagine that Blisk is now sitting there at its desk, just looking forward and thinking, "What have I done? I've made a mistake.
Oh god,
I can't play in this. I just signed up for fun. I knew I was out of practice. That's why I played.
I got a week to prepare. Less than a week to prepare.
What do I do now?" And probably ask him, just shout out my window.
Yeah, but he needs. I mean, I'm sure he's practicing hard. I'm sure he's taking it seriously. I feel like he's the kind of player to do that. but he's got a mountain to climb.
He does. And it's taller than the Bukatima Hill. Haha.
Yeah. I don't get that reference, but sure, yeah. Bukatima Hill. Yeah.
I don't remember how that came to our consciousness, but there was one point where I think it was in a call with Jet and Kuro, question mark? Jet was just like, I guess Singapore's got a hill. And I was like, oh yeah, it's the tallest hill in the country, and it's like I don't remember how many meters tall, so Kuro looked it up and she was like, the hill I went to school on when I was a teenager was taller than this.
I recall that conversation.
That's our tallest point.
Yeah. Yeah. So Bliss qualified. NXZ. Yeah, go.
Slight tangent about Whisk, but on Wikipedia it says of the notable participants, Lobo and Psycho, the other two Singapore boys, are listed there. Whisk isn't. Sorry about that, Mel, but I know you qualified, but like, how notable is that really?
Yeah, I mean, Lobo and Psycho, they're a little bit more notable. Let's be real.
Exactly.
That's funny, by the way. I didn't notice that. Should probably fix that. And of course, NXZ was able to edge it out in the end. And yeah, he did.
Out Quantel.
Yeah, was the last player to qualify. And Quantel, he's someone that we didn't really get to mention, but he's a solid player as well. He's he's not Vietnamese, so he doesn't get overshadowed by Miyamika, but he is the best player in Indonesia. Yeah,
when you took Chase, and I think he beat Chappie the day before, question mark. I'm not too sure about that one, but yeah, once he beat Chase, I think it's sort of Quirky and I sort of thought, okay, this guy's making it pretty far today.
Yeah, and he almost did, right? Like, he took it to the ace match against Azure as well. And Quantel, I do know that some of the Australian players, they do like respect him a lot, as in Oreo, Chappie, and Vivid. They're the three Australians that play the most in Aodai. And they tend to struggle against Quantel. Quantel makes deep runs in Aodai, just like Duckloud, just like Justice Simon. Yeah, he's one of the players that does well there. And yeah, unfortunately he almost made it through, but just wasn't quite enough. And yeah, we have all of our qualified players.
Yes, you could say that his... No, wait. That's a different player entirely, goddammit. I was thinking of Viva Vivaldi. I was gonna be like, I guess that was his something season.
His last song?
His last song. His swan song.
There you go. Of course, V4 Vivaldi is a different Indonesian player that for some reason we've casted a lot of. Just turns out that way. He plays in a lot of ESL Open Cups. Asia, not ESL Dare.
Yeah.
For some reason.
Do they have coffee in Indonesia?
I'm not sure. I'm honestly not sure. Maybe they have like Java coffee. I don't know.
Aha! I'm pretty sure that's where it comes from.
There you go.
Now that I think about it, yeah. They also have the cat coffee beans.
Mm-hmm. Before we move on, I did want to quickly mention, since we were talking about Ranger for so long. I also wanted to mention that Ranger, it's a bit of a shame, but Malaysia is a bit of a weaker country compared to the others, even though they're getting so much support. And this is something that Ranger has been talking about to Claire a lot, because Claire is kind of the second best to Ranger, and which is cool, but at the same time it's kind of sad because there's a massive skill disparity there. And
there is.
Yeah, and Ranger has a lot of aspirations to try and build up the Malaysian community. Kind of like what Miyamika did. There's a lot that he can look towards to try and emulate. But yeah, it is something that he wants to do.
Well, I think in this case, though, Ranger, it's going to be a lot tougher for him because it's almost like building it up from scratch in
Yeah.
Malaysia. Historically, when you think about esports, right? And I don't really know about the history of esports in Vietnam, but in Malaysia, it was always pretty weak. It was, yeah, the internet was just not really a thing there until the sort of later part of the mid 2000s. I want to say I could be completely wrong there, but I'm going off of memory there. But yeah, when you sort of think about Malaysian esports, you got some very dang good Dota 2 players, but when you look into everything else, it's basically one guy per game.
Yeah, and right now that guy is Ranger for StarCraft 2. And like he's trying, like, I don't know if you've seen it. I know Oreo's been casting it a little bit. They've been organizing a lot of clan wars between the C nations. So there's been Thailand versus Malaysia. I think there's been Singapore versus Malaysia, Thailand versus Vietnam. Like they've been doing these like friendly clan wars, these friendly nation wars over the past couple of weeks. And I believe Ranger started it. And yeah, like he's been able to get like some Malaysian players to form like a bit of a team. But at the same time, like a lot of them, they're like diamond or platinum, and to be fair, they do like around the same skill level players against each other, right? Like that's how they set it up. But yeah, Ranger, he's like trying to cultivate them and like form like a Discord group and like try and like get them to practice together and stuff like that. Like this is something that he's trying to do, but it's a lot of work.
I think the very fact that the government is planning on backing esports we could just see Malaysia overtake the rest of C in the years to come. That's definitely a big if, especially for StarCraft 2, right? I imagine that the Malaysian government is looking at it as like, what are the big names? It's like Mobile Legends, it's Dota 2.
Yeah, that's probably what they're looking at. Like when they look at esports, I don't know how many eyes are on StarCraft, but at the same time, it's also like on a little bit on Ranger, where he's making it be a little bit about StarCraft. Like the better he does, the more publicity he gets, the more publicity his team gets, the more publicity StarCraft gets. Like it's all a good thing. So yeah, I wish him the best of luck.
Yeah. As do I. I think the fact that Mate Hexa is primarily a Mobile Legends or Mobile Arena, one of those two team, will help Ranger sort of not fall on the radar in that respect. Not sure how they'll play it out, but I imagine they'll the Malaysian they actually have like a KESPA type thing in Malaysia. They'll probably like like look to individual teams to sign on, and when they sign it on, but for KESPA as well, it was also by game basis.
Yeah, it very much so was. But
that's also a unique situation though, because when you think about the teams like SKT and KT Rolster, it was more of the sponsors like the SK Corporation and the KT Corporation wanted to drop the esport itself because KESPA also dropped it, something like that.
Are you talking about when StarCraft 2 got when KESPA pulled out? Well, that was because of the match fixing. Like that was
because of match fixing. Yeah, I know. Yeah. I know why KESPA pulled out of StarCraft 2, but I'm saying that it's also because KESPA pulled out of StarCraft 2. If you look at it, it was also a bit of a corporation by corporation, sponsor by sponsor kind of basis. That's why Jin Air still is around.
Yeah, definitely. You can definitely argue that like KT and SKT probably had the biggest sway when it came to the KESPA like decision makings, especially since like Pro League was primarily funded by SKT. There was always that kind of conflict of interest going on there. But well, I mean, time will tell. I will also say that when it comes to Malaysia, like I do think we also have to try and support Claire as well. because Claire, he's also kind of Miyamika-esque, where if he's underperforming, he takes it to heart. He gets
He
really
does.
demotivated because of it. And yeah, that's something that he also has to overcome.
He might move back to Malaysia, and I'll never have to give him his jersey.
Dude, just fucking go over the bridge and give it to him. What are you on about? Like this.
But then I might buy gum while I'm there, and then they'll never let
God.
me return. It's like,
Ah, damn it.
but yeah. So that was qualifier day 1. Oh right, but last thing to mention. Apparently, I'm the only person who pronounced Whisk's name correctly. So
Yeah, I saw that tweet. That was really nice. That was really nice of Blisk.
I saw that tweet, and I was like, "Oh no, I messed up." Then I read it, and I was like, "Ah, okay."
All right, Yaku, for everyone, how do you pronounce it?
Whisk.
Whisk. There you go.
Or taught it to me.
Nice. All right, and after all the qualifiers finished, after GPO finished, all of the players were seeded into groups. But before we go into those groups, we actually had one other tournament this week.
ESL Open Cup Asia happened the day before ESL Open Cup Dare Cup, fueled by Dare.
There you go. ESL Open Cup, fueled by Dare, of course, our weekly or the other weekly tournaments. For the region that we cast. And yeah, this one again, just like GPO, had less signups, which again, I don't blame him. I know a lot of people are practicing and getting ready for it. I know me and Micah was as well. And yeah, like that didn't mean though that the games, that the series were any less intense. And I kind of I don't know if I want to say upsets, but maybe a tell for how things have shifted. We keep talking about how yeah. There was a really big surprising result. Unfortunately, we didn't get to cast it. We were in the middle of Hut versus Demi because it's like, oh, yo, it's a TVZ, and they're meeting each other again. We have to cast this. They've met twice already in the past. They've gone back and forth. And as we were casting that, Pez 2-0'd Probe.
He did. We got raided in the middle of Hut versus Demi by Probe, and we thought, wait, is this run over already?
Yeah, as soon as that happened, I'm like, oh no, what happened? like I was happy for the raid, but at the same time, I felt bad for Probe because it's like,
Well, yeah, I mean, nobody ever wants to be knocked out, right? But there's that part of my mind that's saying, how many of these players are hiding their builds for this weekend?
Yeah, it's how many are hiding their builds, how many aren't, right? And we went into this, and again, Pez had just won GPO. He just qualified as well, and seeing him 2-0 Probe, seeing him 2-1 Demi after that, like
we were convinced.
Yeah. Like again, like going into that last series, I'm like, okay. Like, we know he's good at PvZ, and again, we've seen him compete against Probe in a PvP, but his bane has kind of been Seether, this isn't the first time he's played against Seether in the finals. It happened in GPO earlier this year as well. And again, like, Seether showing, like, despite playing Tarkov, like, he's a force to be reckoned with.
You can't just play Tarkov for a month and then come back to a tournament and win it.
We gotta put that
machine go burr.
We need to put Hut's tweet there. Oh god. And honestly, like, even though Pez lost in the finals and then came second once again, this was exciting to me. Like, this is like, oh, like, Pez, he can take it to someone like Probe. At the same time, to me, I feel like the skill difference between all the other players and Probes has been getting smaller and smaller over the course of 2020. There used to be a time. Yeah, there used to be a time where he, like, the difference in skill was a lot more apparent, and he was just better straight up, and you could very confidently say, hey, Probe is the best in Australia. but I feel like that
Well, I
time
think
is.
you can still say that, to be honest.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
I would. But I'm also a very... I would, but I'm also a very Puritan I'm a very old school Puritan person when it comes to ranking players.
Yeah.
To me, to me, it's always you have to... Whatchamacallit? It's proportional.
Exactly, right? And I feel like that's going to be the big thing going into ANZChamps. It's, okay, this is finally the first big tournament of the year. How is everyone going to shape up against each other? You know, we've seen Probe fall in these, like, he's not as dominant as maybe he once was in the past. Is that going to continue? Is he going to show up and prove to everyone that, hey, I'm still the best in the region, I'm still the best in Australia, and I'm going to prove that? Or are some of these other guys going to come up and be like, hey, we've been practicing all year, we've been playing in so many more tournaments than Probe, and now we're going to come and show off like what we look like now, and see all of that payoff. Not just for someone like Pez, but like the returning players like Cut and NXZ, right? You got the Southeast Asian players like Demi, Miyamaika, Ranger. They've all been practicing so hard as well. You know, Seether, he's been playing a lot of Tarkov. He's been putting in the hours, and somehow that translates.
It's because in Tarkov you play as the man with gun.
There
and when you play Terran in StarCraft 2, that's why it doesn't work with the other races.
That's what I'm really excited for when it comes to watching ANZChamps and the DreamHack main event. Like, how is everyone going to perform against each other? And yeah, I guess now we can have a look at the groups, because the groups are also going to play a part in it, and it may affect things as well.
That it could. It's actually a very interesting way that they're formatting who qualifies and who doesn't. Now it's I mean, it's a fairly standard round robin, right? Split into two different groups, but the main thing to keep in mind there is that the top 3 players from both groups will qualify. The 4th player of each group will face off against each other, and that will be the final qualifying spot.
Yeah. I think I kind of like it. It makes that 4th spot really like intense. Like it all comes down to the wire at the end. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I'm a fan of it. I like the tension.
It's something that I don't think I've seen before in a tournament.
I'm sure it's happened. I can't really think of any specific examples, but I'm sure it happened.
Maybe.
Yo, Axe Angel, clear us up for us.
Yeah. I don't know if it's happened in... maybe it's happened in StarCraft.
I'm pretty sure... Brew War was wild, man. They tried everything.
This is weird enough. This group is weird enough where I'm sure that maybe it was in an iteration of the early MLGs. Like, the MLG format was crazy. And very criticized. But, yeah.
For good reason.
So we have Group A, which is the Protoss group.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
What race distribution?
Exactly. It's rough, but I feel like Group B like is the group to look out for. Like, Group A, to me, it looks a little bit more clear cut. Like, I feel like, I don't know, do we want to get into predictions? Do you want to
I feel like predictions towards the end.
Yeah, okay. We can talk about Group A, where it's really Protoss heavy. And I know that Probe has struggled against Protoss in the past. He does. He has gotten visibly, verbally, all kinds of upset on stream when he loses against Protoss. It's
just play like Zest, forehead.
Yeah, it's a little bit surprising. I didn't know about this side of Probe, but yeah, he gets very upset. We've seen him go down earlier this week to Pez. We've seen him go down to Beastlork as well. Like, it's
the only time he played in GPO.
Yeah, I think that left like
Beastlork traumatized him so hard, and I mean, not just losing a PvP, losing to a PvP to Beastlork. What? Show us on the diagram where Beastlork hurt you.
Beastlork is a very cheesy, aggressive Protoss. He's like, oh god, the things that he did to Probe.
And the thing is, it's Beastork is a very cheesy, aggressive Protoss, but he's not like full on someone like SOS or someone like
Yeah.
Kaz. I feel like
Yeah.
if we're gonna talk, like we can make the Meowmika Ender comparison there, where Meowmika is a complete madman and Ender, he's a madman, but has a bit of a, he follows a bit of a code there.
There's a method to the madness.
Exactly. Well, I mean, I would argue that's kind of SOS.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like, Beastork isn't one to, like, you know, like a Haas, you know, like proxy and cannon rush every game. That's not the kind of player he is.
He knows what he's doing, essentially.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced Haas does.
But in saying that, Probe with all these other Protosses, I when I look at Justice Simon, Ranger, and Blisk, I don't see them like a Beastork. You know, I don't see them being that cheeky, that frustrating to play against.
I can see Ranger pulling off a bit of a Beastork, but not in every series. Yeah,
so, you know, despite maybe Probe not having the best time in the matchup, I do think that these are definitely players that he can take on. I want to say. I do think it's the other players that he has to be careful of. I feel like Ender, with his Meowmika-esque style, Probe does kind of struggle against it. So
I think Ender's actually going to make it out ahead of Probe here.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if he'll necessarily beat Probe, but...
Yeah, it's, again, because, you know, maybe he goes down to Probe, but he could have a better score overall, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, Probe, Ender, they're definitely ones to look out for. Hut, this could be, like, Hut plays very unorthodox, but I feel like he may come out first in this group. Like, I don't know, whenever I see him in form, he looks really good, but whenever I see him lose, he looks really bad. Like, he's one of those kinds of players.
It's I call it SKT syndrome. When everybody's expecting them or the particular player to perform badly or be kind of mediocre, they end up exceeding the expectations. Once the spotlight goes their direction, they just sort of crumble.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see, because, you know, Hut, there's no other Terran in his group, so he doesn't have to worry about TVT, which may be his weakest matchup. So, you know, he doesn't have to worry about that. Instead, he can just focus on his versus Zerg and versus Protoss. And against Protoss, I do feel like he's very aggressive and very strong. Like, we've seen him take out Pez, we've seen him take out Probe, we've seen him take out Probe a couple of times, and yeah, I mean, at the same time, though, I would think that Probe would be better prepared. Like, Hut goes for proxies, he goes for, like, 3 racks, like, openers as well, like strong bio pushes. Like, he can just end the game if you don't scout certain things coming. So, yeah, like, if everyone knows how he plays, maybe they can prepare in time. I don't know.
My prediction would be top 3 in no particular order: Probe, Ender, and Hut. The 4th slot, Justice Simon.
I have to agree, except the only difference that I would make is that 4th slot is Ranger.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You think Ranger is going to be Justice Simon or be more consistent than? Well, okay, that's actually something I didn't consider until now. Justice Simon is also a little bit of that, it's kind of the type of player that can run out of juice, or doesn't have the rugged stamina that the other players of this group has, which, again, does go back a little bit to just the fact that he is more inexperienced.
He is, definitely, and I just like how we're both sleeping on Blisk. We're both, this happened in the qualifiers as well. We're like, he's not gonna make it out.
I mean, it's cause Blisk himself has admitted that, I don't promise nothing.
I agree. I completely agree, which is also why I also wouldn't be surprised if he just comes out first. Yeah.
It's because he's playing loose. It's because he's like, yeah, I mean, I qualified now, but I mean, like, I don't really think I'm gonna make it out. I'm gonna just do whatever I want. And then because he's playing loose, because he's not nervous, it's gonna make Probe retire.
Yeah. Like, I feel like he is the big wild card. Like, how good
Especially-
can he get in 5 days of ladder practice?
And that goes down to his playstyle as well. Back when he was playing more seriously, he's basically the kitchen sink Protoss player. He'll do just about anything and everything.
Yeah.
From playing in that sort of turtle up rain style to just straight up one base mothership rush.
Mm-hmm. So we'll definitely see. Like, again, Justice Simon and Ranger, they could be interchangeable. And Blisk, it's, you know, how good can you get in such a short period of time? Maybe a lot, maybe not much. We'll see.
You know me, I'm not a patriotic person, but what I have to say here is that Blisk at least be pretty close to Ranger in terms of the end score. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah. And then
I think I actually told that to Quirky after the qualifiers ended. I was like, Quirky, I'm not a patriotic guy. In fact, I really like Ranger. He's one of my favorite players from the region. But if a Malaysian player qualified and a player from Singapore didn't, I'd be disappointed. And I would be.
Rip. Yeah, and that does go into Group B, which, looking at Group B, to me, this is a lot harder to predict. So this is
full-on wild card.
It is 100%.
Whew. Yeah, I think there is a clear favorite here or two. Or maybe it's not even that clear, to be honest. There is a favorite or two here. And to me, that would be Seether and Miomaika, but Demi isn't that far behind, Pez isn't that far behind, Azure isn't that far behind. And even NXZ, I don't have a lot of expectations for old mate Ryan here, but he was a dark horse in the qualifiers. He surprised everyone.
Yeah, like, we have one of each in each group, where NXZ, he's the Blisk of the group, where he's been gone for a long time, he's practicing now, and, what can we expect from him? I have no idea.
Probably something Night of Swarm host related.
Probably.
Just side tangent. I wonder what NXZ was thinking, because he basically retired at the end of 2018. I wonder what was on his mind when he started seeing a lot more Swarm host Nidus play coming out from basically becoming the meta. You think he thought, aha! I knew it!
It's like, yes, this is my moment. This is my time.
He's like, what if, or would he be like, what have I created? This is why I can never return.
What have I missed out on? I'm coming back. Oh god.
He was coaching Dark
before
BlizzCon.
Oh boy. But I would say that the clear favorite out of this group probably has to be Seether.
Easily.
Yeah, he is the dominant force here. Some of these guys can take games, maybe even series. We've seen it before, but he's just so solid.
I would say that for the case of Seether, it's when you look at the actual peaks of each of these players, right? Seether is a little bit further ahead than someone like Demi, than someone like Miomaika, than someone like Azure. But when it comes to the actual consistency, you can't bet against Seether in that. Miomaika, Demi, and Pez and Azure are all kind of players who fluctuate quite a bit. In fact, we were talking about it earlier. Seether's just solid.
He is. He is very solid, and that's why I think we would both agree that he's probably he's our favorite out of this group. Yep. Other than that, though, like, there's a lot of Zergs here, so I think that Pez may not just come out of this group, but maybe even come out second, just based off of his PVZ.
Yeah, now that you mentioned that, I thought Pez was gonna be. I thought Pez was gonna be my favorite for the 4th slot. I didn't think he would be ahead of someone like Demi or Miomaika, but now, just looking back to the most recent Dare Cup, Pez did beat Demi.
Yeah, he beat Demi.
And again, his PVZ best in the region.
Yeah, he beat Demi, he beat Gogo Joey. Gogo Joey, who's also someone whose skill level is comparable to Miomaika. You know, they've won similar amounts of GPO over the course of this year. Like,
that I agree on. I think I might be a little bit biased to an extent, because I would rate Gogo Joey a bit higher than Mio Micah. I think that just might be a bit of my like, yeah, no, if they play standard macro, then they're obviously the better player, right? I think there's a little bit of that going on. I think Mio Micah and Gogo Joey are comparable, but I don't know, I'll put Gogo Joey just a bit higher.
And if you do put him higher, then that just says so much more when someone like Pez
beat him, yeah.
Exactly, right? Like, you have to say that, because I would agree.
Yeah.
Like, Gogo Joey has been dominant, and like Pez taking him out the way he did, like, you have to favor him against Mio Micah and Demi, like, especially after Dare Cup, right? Like, he beat Demi again. And
he beat Seether this time.
That's the big question. I mean, to be fair, you don't have to, because it is round robin. Like, this isn't something that you have to focus on. But because of that, I feel like Pez is definitely going to make it out. And then the other two slots, like Mio Micah and Demi, they're very comparable. They do have a bit of a rivalry going on. You've got Azure, who also has a rivalry with Demi. Who, you know, he also has some solid TVZ as well, and they've gone back and forth. You know, Azure recently winning a GPO as well. Like, I say recently, but it was a month ago now.
Has it been that long?
Yeah. And then you got the wild card NXZ. Like, Group B is the one that I'm most excited for. It just feels like so many of these matchups could go either way, right? Like, Demi could beat Azure could beat Demi. Like, Pez could beat the Zergs could beat Pez as well. Like again, everyone's getting ready for this. Everyone's practicing. In the TVT, something crazy could happen. Like, Azure could beat Seether and be like, what? And then everything.
I would imagine that to be likely,
yeah. Yeah, it could happen. It could definitely happen.
But Seether did also beat Azure 2-0 recently, so.
Yeah. Like, anything could happen. There's definitely a lot to look forward to over the course of the weekend. I say weekend, this is starting Friday night. Yeah, the groups start Friday night and they end, I think it goes all the way to at least Sunday, maybe even Monday. There's like a couple of matches from each group every single day. It's going to be sick. And I know I'm going to be tuning in. I mean, it's going to be rough on Friday because, of course, we have our own tournament to run. We have MSO on Friday. So after that, of course, we will be tuning in or maybe tuning into the VODs to see what we missed, depending on who plays. I think the schedule has been made public to see, like, when players are playing. Like, I want to tune in to Pez live. Like, I want to see how he does. I want to see how Ranger does. I want to see how Justice Simon does. Like, yeah, there's a lot of these guys who, you know, like, they can just make magic happen. It'd be great. But I think that's kind of all we have to talk about, like, heading into this weekend.
Yeah.
Unless you have anything else you want to add.
I think that just about wraps us up. Let's talk about politics in the Philippines.
The Philippines. Shout out to KJ. KJ, of course. He's cheering for his boy Ender. He was cheering for him over the weekend and the qualifiers as well. It was great to see KJ there. And yeah, I just think the big story is, you know, after this group stage, how are things going to play out? Like, how is Probe going to play out? I'm sure a lot of eyes are on him. I'm sure there's a lot of pressure on him as well.
Probably some cosplay involved.
Probably some cosplayers involved as well. Yeah, this is all accurate. Just because he's been the best in the region for so long, and now that may be being put into question, especially with his group. Like, his group is looking really hard. Like, I think we both kind of favored Hut over Probe, maybe, or Ender at least. Like, yeah.
I'm not sure if I favor. I guess in the hit, you're not asking about the head-to-head. You're asking about how they fare against in the overall score.
Yeah, in the group, yeah.
Yeah, I would say that if Hut and Ender just prepare against their versus P matchups respectively, which they probably should.
Yeah.
Then they might just be fighting for first and second place between the two of them. I have no doubt that Pro is going to make it out, though.
Yeah, definitely. They should make it out of the group, and then we'll head into the playoff brackets, and God, it's gonna be a lot. It's crazy because they go into the playoff bracket, which also has Risky in it as well, and that throws this other wrench in the works. Like how is Risky playing?
How's that gonna work?
Yeah, I got no idea.
Risky
how
has
he's
been in
doing.
Korea for a while.
He has.
I don't think he is in Korea right now, but early on in this year and towards the end of last year, he was in the foreigner team house.
Yeah. That's also why he played in GPO that one time.
Oh, I thought he just woke up early.
Well, he did wake up early, and he was also in Korea at the time. So like the times.
Wait, you're telling me that both can happen?
I know, shocking.
What?
But yeah, we'll see how that plays out. I remember Risky, he signed up, and I think I want to say he lost to Beastlurk as well.
Maybe something like that. I remember. I think I was soloing it initially, and then you're like, Yaku, follow Risky. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Did we cast him?
And I don't remember. I think his opponent was late, so we ended up having to cast somebody else.
I'm looking this up now. I'm curious. Hold on.
Right.
Risky. Who took him out? I want to say it's Beastlurk. I want to say Beastlurk's the hype killer.
I mean, that was the GPO that Beastlurk won.
Yeah, it was at the end of 2019. Yep. He got 2-0'd by Beastlurk.
That's a rip.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense to me. Yep, Beastlurk. We're like, oh my god, Risky's playing. Oh my god, Probe's playing. Oh god, they're running into Beastlurk. Oh no!
Wait, did Probe sign up that week?
No. It was a later one.
Yeah, that makes more sense. Beastlurk, man, he is the hype killer. He is the SOS of Hong Kong. Speaking of Beastlurk, real quick, while this is all going on, I'm just gonna be refreshing something real quick.
Did he qualify?
He did not. At least not tonight. Got taken out by Nasin.
He was so close as well. He beat Black Mamba as well just to get to the qualifying match.
Big rip. Oh, Sen didn't qualify. Expecting it. Well, I mean, that was kind of expected.
Yeah, like Sen, he hasn't been. I know he streams on Facebook. He's a streamer now.
He's basically half retired.
He's actually really popular on Facebook. He gets like over 1K.
Oh yeah, but that's what I mean, as in from professional play.
Yeah, pretty much. Which is sad to see. Like he did have a legacy behind him, but yeah,
he was never on Legacy. Wait for Hong Kong something.
This is accurate.
Hong Kong Attitude.
There you
before retirement.
And I think we are done. Thanks everyone for listening in on this. I'm sure Krupp will edit it and format it and make it all beautiful and lovely and show what needs to be shown.
She's gonna put in like a subtitle like I did.
she's gonna put in like gym dancing. Oh boy.
That's for the post show. After party.
Yeah.
Or the pre-show. After party makes more sense.
We may do another one of these.
As a reminder, this is not PondCast. It just happens to fall under the PondCast branding.
Yeah. This is not PondCast. That's what we're gonna label this. By the way, that's the title. This is a bit of a sneak peek, a bit of a preview to what's to come for ANZ, and yeah, it's exciting. The casters did get announced. Pig and Zeph will be casting, which is really nice to see. Pig, who of course he does a lot of casting recently, and Zeph, she used to cast a lot more back in the day. She used to be like the go-to duo with Maynard. I loved watching them cast together, and yeah, it's a bit of a shame that Maynard won't be a part of it. I was very surprised. For those who don't know,
something about the travel restriction in it.
Yeah, the reason why he isn't doing it is because they are doing an offline broadcast, for the casters. So because they're committing to doing an offline broadcast, they need their casters to be there live. And there's no interstate travel allowed at the moment. And Maynard isn't in Sydney, so yeah, he can't come over. So yeah. Honestly, I'm very surprised that they aren't doing everything online. I think we all kind of expected everything to be online, but yeah, ESL Australia, they really want that studio broadcast, which I guess it makes sense. I don't know if it's necessary. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, I just hope that they still do incorporate Maynard somehow, because a lot of tournaments are doing things online. There's no reason not to, right? Especially if you're going to especially if it means you can include someone like Maynard, right?
Yeah.
Well, Yaku, who are you? Who are you to these people? We probably should have introduced ourselves in the beginning, actually. You know what? Cut this out.
Us.
Put it in the beginning. Yeah.
That'll put it at the beginning as well as the end.
Uh-huh.
Hey, coming to you live! No, you opened up earlier.
Coming to you live from...
No, you opened up earlier in about an hour and a half ago. You did something like that. I don't think you introduced us by name, but you did say welcome.
From... Hold on. What was the name of the place that we mentioned before?
Silukan, I don't know. I don't know what you're referring to.
What? The station that you're near, the place
Dakota.
Dakota, Singapore,
or Dakota,
MRT, if you will. We have Yakuzaku and myself, Live VIP.
Yeah, we're actually in the train right now.
Yeah.
It's the one place where quarantine restrictions aren't a thing.
It's like gambling in the middle of the ocean, like international. Yeah.
We can do whatever we want here. I can chew gum.
But yeah, Yaku, where can people find more of you?
Twitch.tv/Yakuzaku1, Twitter.com @EmporiaYakuzaku. Buy my shirts. Where can we find you, Light?
Yeah, you can find me at Light_VIP on Twitch and on Twitter. And yeah, I'm usually live here on the CranKy Ducklings. That's pretty much it.
Going on Twitch?
This is not going on Twitch. This is just
okay.
Yeah. No, you can follow us on Twitch, CranKy Ducklings, as well as
and
YouTube.
when you go to Twitch, !Discord. No wait, our Discord link will be in the Discord. We have not used YouTube in how long? God damn it.
You can check out the description for all the links for our social media, for Twitch, for Discord. You can also support us on Patreon. Patreon directly supports the tournaments that we run, which include GPO, which we did talk about.
How do people who stream and make videos do this? How do they keep track of what outro to use? It's like, !the socials. And it's like, no wait, but but this is for YouTube.
You know what
Look
they
at
do?
the description. No wait, but this is for Twitch. It's like,
what? You know what they do? They pre-record it and then they copy paste. That's what they do.
What?
They cheat. Mind blown. Hit that bell icon. Never said that before in my life. Hit that bell icon.
I long for the daylight. I long for the day that we can say that this podcast was brought to you by Raid Shadow Legends.
Rage what? No. You gotta sell out a little bit. You gotta work your way up to that. This is brought to you by Audible. You can use that Audible
gotta go
link.
You gotta go through the the companies that'll sponsor literally anyone.
NordVPN. If you wanna,
I use it.
Yeah. Yaku uses it. You know it works if he uses it, right?
It does have this annoying thing where every time you update it, it redacted.
Also shout out to what's that shaving one? Something
Dollar
Shave Club. Dollar Shave Club, where even though we're in quarantine, you do want to make sure that you're well groomed and you're taking care of yourself.
In months.
You haven't, but you also don't have facial hair.
What?
So, of course, you are the perfect sponsor, the spokesperson for Dollar Shave Club. And, of course, shout out to MeUndies with the softest...
someone's more...
Yeah, underwear around. I'm sure Yaku is just wearing underwear and nothing else.
Yeah, I'm supposed to wear something?
Ladies. I feel like you're raising your
And with
eyebrows right now.
that,
I feel like you're giving the camera some looks, even though the camera isn't live. Right, cool, you can end it there.
goodbye.
See you next time.